What a glorious sunny day to have one more session for the team. Some might ask, how did I draw this job? Because I'm not one that says a whole lot, as many people notice. But what I usually say is profound. And those that have traveled on the team with me know that I don't go far without this. So hopefully that'll help me get through the afternoon. We've got a ton of people that are going to share a lot of insight about how Jay Liesener impacted their life, and each and every one of you is here today, no doubt in my mind, because he had a profound impact on your life, as well as mine. So it'll be hard to get through the day for me and many of us, I'm sure, but it'll be fun. It'll be enjoyable to hear these stories, and we're going to start right off with John Dorfler, who's going to talk about kind of the impact that Jay had on so many little kids that are part of this team.
First off, can we get a big hand for Steve for taking on this incredible job? He's got a hard day upon him, so it's going to be a lot of tears up here. I was tearing up already there listening to him. So a lot of people said I was a little brave being first, but I'm really coming up here for instructions for the first time. I'm going to come up a little bit later and hopefully brave a song or two and talk about my experiences. But surf camp meant a lot. Speedo, thank you. That's what I needed. Surf camp meant a lot of things to a lot of people, and I think it meant family to most of us. So the kids, I did. Man, winning the audience. So the kids meant a lot. Kids mean a lot to this group. Meant a lot to Jay. Mean a lot to Mel, Aunt Mel, Uncle Jay. So in the back, we were thinking about what can the kids do, because after all, this is celebration. Look at all these people around the room. Look what this love brought together. It's beautiful. So, but kids are kids, man. They want to have fun. They want to create things. They want to spread the love that they've learned here with Surf Camp. So in the back, with the generosity, John Klein helped secure the bottles with Dogfish. We have a great project in the back where the kids can color on the back of these cards that talk a little bit about Surf Camp and the legacy that Jay has left for all of us in conquering life and enjoying life in every single breath that he took. So what we want is all the kids to draw on the back exactly what life means to them, what Jay meant to them, what Surf Camp means to them, and what family means to them. And we're going to put those pictures in a bottle. And they're really cool bottles. They look like something a pirate drank rum from back in the day. They're just awesome. So we're going to put those bottles. We got corks. We're going to take those bottles, and we need to get them, from what I'm told today, 3 miles out to sea so that the right currents take them abroad. So I know I already volunteered Ed Martin, but if anybody has a boat that is ocean-worthy, which I think we have a commercial fisherman over here, we want to get these bottles out in the springtime. Unfortunately, I'm not a great painter, so I don't think me drawing a painting of somebody going across the Delaware with an iceberg like George Washington is going to look great. So we'd like your boat not to get hit by an iceberg. So in the springtime, we're going to be looking to get these bottles out into the current and with the right tide to get them out. We're also asking, there's so many people that have been affected by Surf Camp and inspired by Surf Camp from abroad here, coming from different states. I know our friends from Virginia are here. I know, I'm not quite sure how far the reach is out today, but they're here. California? We got Californians here. Bless your hearts coming out and braving this cold temperature. Bless your hearts. That's awesome. So that's just how far the love has gone. So please take some bottles back with you. There's no liquid in them, so they can get by TSA. If they pat you down, you might enjoy it. I'm not quite sure. But take these bottles with you. If you're coming from abroad, if you're here in Delaware or Maryland, we're going to get them out to the ocean and get them out there. And on there, it has, take a picture of where this bottle was discovered. One of Jay's favorite books, and it's escaping me right now, was basically a book how a little boy discovered these treasures on the beach. So hopefully we can inspire some other Yeah, I'm all right. It's all love. Hopefully we can inspire some others with their discovery, and they can cherish their summer memory of finding a cool little message in a bottle made from some of our young friends here. So please go in the back and make your impact known. Thanks all.
Thank you, John. Next up, I'd like to ask Jeff Land to come up. Jeff's got a video he's put together. He's going to explain and share with you.
All right, I'm like Steve said, I'm going to talk about a video that's brand new, but I'll do that first, and then I'll talk about the foundation that a lot of you have been involved with the last month and a half. The video came to Melanie 3 days ago. Sean Brody from Adaptive Surfing Magazine sent Melanie a rough cut of his interview with Jay this August in the parking lot at Cardiff Reef, which was a magical place, right? So we're going to play that, and then we'll talk about the foundation. Go ahead, Chris. Thank you.
The camera. Just tell us your name and where you're from.
I'm Jay Liesener. I'm from Delaware. Out here in California, surfing with my friends.
So you came out for a surf trip of a lifetime?
Yeah, this is one I've been dreaming of for a long time. I didn't quite realize it, but found out that this is where my dream for surfing kind of began, because this is where they filmed that spot of Jesse for Step in the Liquid, and that inspired me to try to get back in the water. You know, after 10 years, led us here. So,
Very cool.
or 15 years.
So you had a chance, you actually bumped into Rob Machado yesterday?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Just at the market. So he was very generous and gracious, and talked to us a little bit. And you know, he was part of that scene and part of getting people back in the water and helping us figure out how to make it work. So.
It must have been pretty full circle then, you know, seeing that video clip and then coming out here and bumping into him at the grocery store.
Yeah, very surreal, very.
So,
but like you said, full circle.
And can you tell us a little bit about the importance of the adaptive surfing community and what you've seen out here? And
yeah, I had on the East Coast, we're kind of on our own, and you know, like life rolls on, rolls through, and you get some ideas and meet some people and make some contacts. But I have never seen anything like this here, where you have so much support, and just in the lineup, you know, they're used to you, so it's not an oddity. It's just kind of like, can this guy surf, and does he belong out here? You know, do you earn your spot? It's a nice feeling, but. And then to meet you guys and see what you're doing documenting it, and you know, just it's impressive, and it's important, and it's really cool to see that starting up and it exists out here. I can't wait for it to get to the East Coast. So.
Well, it already has, you know, in the form of you and other athletes, and organizations spawning up.
Yeah.
It's been cool to see it. Adaptive surfing spread, and I know that you're an inspiration to
Thank you.
a lot of individuals. What would you say for the kids just getting into adaptive surfing? Any advice or any words of wisdom?
So start wearing a helmet. It took me getting knocked out and cutting my eye open and all that, but you gotta take care of yourself in the water, but keep charging, have fun, take your time. It takes a while to figure out the equipment, make it work for you, so you have to have patience, but you know, if you have the passion, you'll follow through, and it's changed my life. It's given me back so much that was taken from me, I guess, in terms of like athletics and sports, but also it's given me a way to create a family and a group of friends that, you know, are the most important thing in the world to me. So
It's powerful.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all about at Adaptive Surfing, is cultivating the community. And well, You want to tell us about your best wave this morning? I heard you got a good one.
Best wave. All the waves were so fun out here. I just had one real late drop where just looking straight down and really thinking I'm going to bail on it, just pulling straight through. So that was kind of just super steep drop. So it was fun.
I heard everyone on the beach. You were turning all the heads.
Thanks. we're just, yeah. Just hoping I'm earning my spot out here. So
Yeah.
trying to make us East Coast look good. So.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for the time. And if there's anything else you want to share or add, or I guess, to the people out there that maybe could say, anything about supporting the growth of adaptive surfing. It's
Yeah, just everybody who's supporting it, just a huge thank you. And you're letting us live out our dreams that, we never thought we could. All the people that support the surfers are so important to the movement. So it's like my team that I can't do this without them, and we can't do this without the support, the community. So, but I think if you give the athletes a chance to step up and show, our passion and what we love and what we can do, people enjoy it, and just really appreciate you guys giving it a platform.
Right on, bro.
Well, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate having you out here.
Well, thank you.
It's been real
awesome.
cool seeing you the last few days.
And just the love we've gotten here is great. It's
Cool.
a very hospitable place.
Awesome. Well, you're a popular guy. You got more people who want to say hello. Thanks again.
There were many times in the last 9 years where we, the Team Surfkit members, looked around in absolute amazement and wondered, how did we get here? I'm going to get through this. Sometimes here was a location, Hawaii, North Carolina, Puerto Rico, or California. Other times here was a world-famous surf break like Sunset, or meeting world-class surfers like Pete Mel and Rob Machado. Many times here was witnessing amazing and inspiring feats, watching in awe as Jay showed us a new move that he had perfected in his mind while confined to his chair or his bed. Remember Jay's first bailout roll. I know everybody remembers his first kick out. Did Jay do a kick out? And then, of course, this summer when Jay had that amazing cutback in Assateague. Other here's amazing events, surfing with Time and her dad, meeting amazing adaptive surfers at Cardiff Reef, right there. And sometimes here was just simply taking a moment to soak up the Surf Gimp community. As many of you know, Jay guided us before he died in setting up the Team Surf Gimp Foundation. The premise was to find ways to give adaptive surfers and other disabled athletes the same opportunities that he had. Jay wanted to share his passion for surfing and what he had learned about overcoming physical disability, passing on his first custom board to Heather, writing an article for Adaptive Surfer magazine about the California trip, volunteering at Surf Rider, volunteering at Life Rolls On events. Jay wanted to ensure that the legacy and spirit of Team Surf Gimp would live long after he was gone. Some of what Jay and the team accomplished required considerable funding. It took money to get to Hawaii, California, North Carolina, and Puerto Rico. Money for airfare, wheelchair-ready vans, accessible housing. It took money to buy Jay's boards, his custom boards, sand tires, and those wonderful tracks. Resources that many disabled athletes and their families simply don't have. Much of what the team accomplished took committed people. who are willing to prioritize Surf Gimp for their weekends and their vacation days. Jay's vision for the foundation was to raise funds to help others pursue their limitless adventures, to expand the sport of adaptive surfing from its hub in Southern California to the Mid-Atlantic and beyond, to support the adoption of adaptive surfing in the Paralympics, to allow the severely disabled to hang glide, to ski, to travel the world and experience amazing adventures. The Team Surf Gimp Foundation will expand on Jay's experiences and dreams. To those of you who have donated, thank you. Since the foundation was chartered in November, we have raised $14,000. That's a lot, yeah. To help other like-minded disabled athletes pursue their dreams, we need your time and generous contributions. Please join us. Please get involved. I know the team will. We have a hole. We have a hole in our hearts right now. But we also have a hole in our schedules. Every warm weather, warm water, Saturday and Sunday, right around low tide. For Jay and the team, pursuing our dreams led us to places that we never expected to go. Let's help take others there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. As one of the, I think, founding original people of Team Surf Gimp, everything you've done is greatly appreciated. At this point, I'm going to ask Melanie and Jennifer Costello, Jay's sister, to come up. Before you make your way up here, let me say a couple things. They're going to be presenting the first foundation grant. But let me say this. Other than there's a lot of family and friends of Mel's and Jay's around here, here today, there's also a lot of local people. And I was probably had the privilege of being one of the first people to meet Mel as she came into our community here at the beach. We both came to the Cape Henlopen School District as teachers in August of 2005. I remember sitting in the classroom in the Fred Thomas building there. We sat next to each other as we went through the in-service stuff that we have to go through, that I now have to lead as we go through it. But and just from the very moment I met her, and she's a young lady now, but she was a very young lady then. And I was just so overly impressed with just her as a person as we spoke and taught and that day or that week. Then I had the chance to share a classroom with her and really see that she was probably one of the best teachers I've ever worked with or ever seen. And that's just unbelievable. But what I learned shortly after that not only was she that unbelievable teacher during the day, but she was Superwoman as she went home and met all of Jay's needs 24/7. And I always wondered, how in the hell did she ever accomplish that? She's Superwoman. And a testament to that, as I've seen 1, 2, 3, at least 4 of her students in the audience out here today who are here, and they are the great young men that they are as a result of what Mel did with them. So I just wanted to say that before I ask Mel and Jennifer to come up here now and talk about the first grant awardee. Come on up, ladies.
I'm pleased to announce that the Team Surf Gimp Charitable Foundation will be presenting its first grant to Time Fedorchak for one custom beach wheelchair to her liking, fully funded, so that she can continue her limitless adventures. She was on the beach the first day that Jay went surfing with Life Rose On, and she's been by his side every year since. Her family has become our family, and I was Time's teacher when she was in kindergarten, and now she's a woman, so I've seen her grow up over the years. Very proud to present this on behalf of the foundation. And just so you know, Time, it was Jay's wish that you be the first recipient. And I think that makes it a little extra special today. So I'm going to bring this back to you and give you a hug, because I know there's no way in heck you can make your way up here. Okay? All right.
While they're working their way back there, I was lucky enough to be in Puerto Rico with the team for that trip last April, and it truly was incredible to watch Time surfing in with her dad at the beach there. It was just unbelievable. Time and her family are actually our next speakers, so if my mobile mic guy is back there, if you want to pass that on.
Hello. I really don't want to stand up. This has been making me tear up all day just having to talk in front of everyone. To introduce us a little bit, and Melanie pretty much said what I wanted to say. We met Jay and Melanie when Time was 5. Melanie was her teacher. And Time is now 20. So you guys can do the math. And that's for all the educators out there. You are welcome. We were with Jay for his first ride with Life Rose On when he was propped up on life jackets to some of his last waves with his modified board that he was able to control. We would like to thank you very much for this generous gift. We are honored. Being able to get this chair will open up even more opportunities, such as walks on paths in the woods, more fun in the snow, and we can travel to beach destinations and actually get Time to the beach easily and to the water. So thank you.
When I first met Jay, or as I call him, Buttercup, he was really young. He asked me to go surfing with him. We surfed together. Since then I have gone hang gliding, indoor skydiving, water skiing, downhill skiing, and more. I am always up for an adventure. Jay created a daredevil. Thank you, Jay, for making my world even bigger. Thank you, Melanie, for awesome pictures and always being a support.
How awesome is that? And that young lady is a daredevil, let me tell you. Next on our list of people that would like to share some things with us is Susie Carbone, a family friend. If you could come on up.
Hi, everybody. My son Chris and I are very, very happy to be here today to celebrate Jay's life. We want to honor him and remember him just as all of you do. The Carbone family has known the Liesener family for over 40 years. My son Chris, who is here today, and Jay grew up together. We lived in the same neighborhood. They went to the same elementary school. They were on the same Little League baseball team. They had birthday sleepovers together, and they were in Cub Scouts together. So they shared all those things that happen when you're little boys. When Jay was injured at the age of 17, my husband Bob organized a community fundraiser, which contributed to making accommodations to Jim and Edie's house for Jay. This money also helped to establish the trust fund for Jay. Edie asked me to read what I had posted on Facebook in response to what Jay wrote in November about how he was feeling in November. So this is what I wrote, and this is for Jim and for Edie, and most certainly again for Jay. Dear Jay, I have often marveled and wondered where you found the strength to endure your injury and to endure the years of pain and struggle. Even through the darkest of times, you are able to give others strength, inspiration, and a sense of our connectedness and of a meaningful life. You are such a gift, and I wish you and Melanie, your family, and all who love you, peace and love. You will always be with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Next, we have a PowerPoint presentation that was put together by Bella Polizzi. Awesome, Bella. Next, if I could ask Liam Dennehy to come up. He's put together a PowerPoint presentation. He's going to do a little ukulele playing for us.
Hey, okay. I just want to say that before I play the song, the reason I chose this is because I want to show me and Jay's friendship between each other. So it's gonna be a little hard for me, but I'm gonna try. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. If you're tossing and turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Count on me, 'cause I can count on you.
How cool was that? All right, next we have a video put together by Will Evans. Thank you, Will. OCL Villalobos, come on down. OCL is it's got a video put together that focuses in on our California trip, and it was one hell of a trip.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm not a public speaker, but on a count of 3, can I get in? I love you, Jay. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. So I put together just a little quick video. It's not sad. It's actually a good time. Some of the good times we had in Cardiff and Oceanside, but here it is right here. I'm sorry.
So we're ending the week with the beach sprint and swim event, all of Team Surf Camp. And the competition within the competition is brother versus brother-in-law. John Lenny versus Jack Frederick for winner takes all.
Yeah, I wish I had time to get in
How
there.
you feeling? How you guys doing? Good?
Hey, doing great. I just double cramped. I had out in the water.
Awesome. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked to be here. This is Jay Stream, who's to come to California. So been out to Hawaii surfing, Puerto Rico, down the banks, but never been to California, so this is like a dream.
It's been a goosebumps straight up. This place is kind of like a shed of dreams for a lot of people. You know, it materializes and it uses itself, or it lends itself to so many different things, from weddings to, you know, movie premieres, birthday parties, and then obviously the best part is the surf park. Many a board's been shaped, many a board's been borrowed. I got Spike's freaking A-Sport hanging on the wall. You know, right up there below Kelly's. And all the music's below Kelly's and Andy Irerson's board is because it's too big to break off. Otherwise it'd be a buck.
What's the craziest thing that's happened in the shed?
Me falling off that ladder. I was working on some boards up there, and the ladder went down underneath me and fell down like this and shattered my hand and broke my whole hand. On Valentine's Day, 3 days before I was supposed to go to Fiji for 2 weeks. That's my craziest thing. But it didn't, the only reason it probably didn't kill me, because I mean, I fell flat on my back, but I landed on 2 boards. skip fries.
You just skip fries.
Oh yeah, that's what I
Like
see.
you talk on the beach, so that was
Do you have a favorite?
It's funny because I did a drive-by. I was going to check
yeah,
that
probably
box you did.
that little list fish, the
it
one
was
with the
empty.
gray and white stripe on it.
What's that?
That's the first list fish
But
we ever go
he,
to, about 1971 when fishes were somewhat new.
So you look like a
That's
French
probably
guy
my
that was
favorite. I lost it for
one of
about
the
30 years. It got sold out from underneath
one of the
me.
assistant guys.
And a shop I used to work at, somebody didn't know
I seen you getting
it
up the
wasn't for
bundle.
sale, so they sold it.
I think it's
And then I
French
found it
guy.
back.
I thought you were passing through on your way to
Series of
Hawaii.
negotiations,
That's why
I
I
ended up
stopped.
getting it back again.
Have you still got one of your
It's fun, man. It's pretty. It's a pretty good setup. You know, pretty easy to get out. Get long waves. You know. Yeah. So. Piggyback ride? This is my son, Jack. Okay. Climb on. Climb on.
Such a great hunt visit. They're so fun. They have like heart, you know.
You on?
You know about them?
You gotta hold on, bro. I'm not holding on to you. Little monkey. You guys gonna surf again?
Yeah, we're gonna try to go today.
And what do? You're gonna eat it and then throw it away?
Put the whole thing in your mouth.
All right, go ahead, try
Jay's
it.
ready to try it.
Yummy! See that shit, oh my god!
It's moving. Check it out.
He actually gave me the is he alive still?
See, there it goes.
I want to see the top. Where did you get this? I like my feet.
Couple of tents down here. Yeah, right there on the right hand side.
Can I touch your needles?
Yeah, you can touch your needles.
That's the only thing left to eat.
That's why.
Go for it, John.
Go for it. There you go. Well.
Good? To die for?
All right. It's like the saltiest oyster. Oh. Wait, all right, Jay's up. Did you want to try it? Huh? Are you gonna say yes or no? Because I'm gonna eat all of this.
No, they're moving every now and then.
They move really slow. Like it's fresh kill.
I used to step on them all the time when I was diving.
Well.
Chase it with some pizza.
Is it fishy or salty?
Is it good?
It's just crowd. Everyone's crowding around the sea urchin.
It's like a really salty oyster. Well, no. I gotta get a bite of that. It looks really.
What the? Oh my God. Hey, this is like taking a turn for the awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Oz. That California trip just unbelievable. For those of you that were on the California trip, I'm still looking for the Krispy Kreme donuts, by the way. All right. Stephanie Lisi, come on up, and she's got some memories to share with us.
This is pretty amazing. And I couldn't be more grateful to be a part of this. I have this really great book that I've been writing all kinds of thoughts in, and my intentions was to read from it, and I have a feeling I'll probably get a little derailed. Please bear with me. So I've been trying to find the words to express how I feel. My life has been dramatically changed by my relationships with all of you. In the short time that I got to know Jay. He taught me to work through my fears and explore the world around me. In a much different way than I have ever before. He had trust and boundless amounts of faith in the human race and achieved so much in this life. He helped give me confidence in the water where I questioned myself before. And although it took time, I have a connection that cannot be explained with all of you. To say there is strength in numbers is an understatement. The strength of this spirit is amazing. On a very personal note, when I first met the team, I was with my granddaughter at Assateague, which was the first place I learned to swim, and it was the first place I caught a wave. It was the first place I took my children to swim. And my granddaughter was exhausted and cranky, and I had to get off the beach because my patience was running thin. And when I was packing my things up with my family that day, I saw this group of guys put this gentleman who looked helpless out of a wheelchair and onto a surfboard. And I watched them start to enter the water, and I thought, this is pretty freaking cool, and that's not the word that I used. My granddaughter continued to carry on, and we left the beach. I never really knew what happened to this guy, and I thought it was a one-time thing. A couple weeks later, my girlfriend Michelle and I were at the beach, and we were in the water, and we had gone far south at Assateague so we could stay away from some of the kooks that were out there. And here came this group with all these surfboards and all these small children and a guy in a wheelchair. And I had an aha moment. This is the guy I saw. This is the group I saw take him out. Michelle, get out of the water. And my friend and I walked up to Mel, and I think Dina was there, and we asked what was going on, and they said, well, just look us up on Facebook. We're Team Surf Gimp. And I was like, ooh, okay, I'll do that. My friend was the first one I went in the water with, and she was the one I trusted. And she was moving away and traveling. And I latched onto you because it was a guarantee that I would be protected while I was in the water and I would never have to surf alone. It took me some time to get close to you. A lot of the times I'd show up, say hi, help out, and I'd leave. At 50 years old, I've never experienced such love and unconditional friendship. Told you I'd divert from this. 2 years ago, my marriage was rocky. And I came to the beach, and I watched the most loving woman care for such a wonderful, full of life human being. And I never saw him really in a wheelchair after that. And I wanted what they had. And I realized that the small stuff doesn't matter. He's never going to lift the toilet seat. My husband has one arm. And years ago, somebody said, oh, I heard your husband fell off a roof and broke his back. It was the worst thing that could have happened because of his condition. And I looked at him and I was like, what condition? Well, he's handicapped. No, he's not. We have a couple drinks. He throws me over the shoulder, takes me down to the boat. There's nothing handicapped about that man. I had a common bond with Melanie. and I realized that the crumbs on the sink, on the counter, he cleaned the kitchen. He tells me with great pride, babe, I cleaned the kitchen for you. Look, I even put the dishes in the dishwasher. But there's everything that was on the counter on the floor. It doesn't really matter. The evening of our surf-giving dinner, many of us were blessed to be able to share the bed with Mel, your husband. And he snored. My husband, I've slept in a separate room with for many years because his snoring. And you walked over to him and you stroked his face and you went, oh, isn't that the most beautiful sound? I sleep in the room with my husband. The snoring, it sucks. Sometimes I take Benadryl. Sometimes I make it through the night. But my love for him and my relationship with him is better because of you and Jay. The water is what brought us together, and Assateague is like a monument to me because everything that's ever meant anything to me happened there. And I'm going to share a quick story and then I'll get out of the way. I've been reading on Facebook how people have had these moments where they felt like Jay sent a signal or he came in a dream. I was coloring a girlfriend's hair a few weeks ago, and she does a lot of meditation. She's very spiritual, and she was sharing an experience with me about a Navajo woman who is getting ready to pass. And we were talking about the universe. And I was telling her how my friend was very in touch with the universe and has just passed away, and I described a little bit of who he was, and she said, stop, wait a minute. Weren't you all on the beach early in the morning, sometime around the end of July, early August? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, we were. And she said, we were the yogis. There was like 30 of us. And we went into Warrior 2 and sent you our offering. We wanted to send love to you all so that you could have a great surf session. And it was incredible. While her and I were sharing this experience, literally a 6-inch by 1-inch tile fell out of the ceiling and hit me on the head. She immediately said, Jay just said hello to you. Whenever my mother wants to get through to me, she hits me on the head. And I thought, how incredible is that? So on Tuesday, I was trying to figure out what I should say because I felt like I needed to share because my life has been so impacted by everybody that's here. And our common bond being Jay. As I was leaving work, directly in front of my face flew an owl. In Native American, your animals represent different things. Owls represent death. They represent the ending of one thing and the beginning of something new. I had the same thing happen last night. As I pulled into my driveway, an owl, Scooby-Doo bat-like, came in front of my windshield. And I had this aha moment. On Friday night, I went to guided meditation, and I took a journey with an owl that took me through a very dark place. And I know I probably sound a little fruity, but that's okay. When I got through this dark space, guided by this owl, I had climbed a mountain, and on top of the mountain, when you looked out, it was nothing but the most beautiful sky. And there were dolphins, and there was this laugh that I'd like to think was Jay. And as we all know, when we're at the beach, we watch these birds and they fly north and south across the water. These birds were flying out over the ocean, away. And the light was super bright. And I believe that's because this is the beginning of something incredible for the next stage of Jay's life. and carrying on the message and letting people live the dream like he did. And I'm done. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our next presenter is another of the pillars of Team Surf Gimp, Jack Frederick and family, because they've got a lot to offer for us here.
All right. Hopefully don't get any feedback. I might just stand up here so I can see the pictures that are up here. That's a normal move. It's pretty daily routine there. I wrote some things down and I have some pictures to share. And I forgot some tissues. I definitely will need those at some point because I don't see myself getting through this.
I got your back.
Okay. This picture right here was the first time that I helped Jay in the water. First time for a few of us in that picture. And I've said it 100 times. If somebody wants to get in the water, he wanted to get in the water. I can go to the water any day and get in. There's nothing stopping me. He needed some help. And the least I could do, because you tell me when he wants to get in, and we'll show up, and we'll help him surf. And from that day on, my life changed forever. And for the better. It changed. So I started the day out when I first got here drinking a Mai Tai in Jay's honor. And now, and Huber, if we were at the pool bar in Hawaii, Turtle Bay, I might charge him to your room. So we had a lot of Mai Tais in Hawaii at the pool bar, and it was amazing. You could just sit there and be like, yeah, put it on room 318. They don't even check your room number. So, I don't know. And a bourbonade, which were two of his favorite drinks. So that's how I'm starting my day. So cheers, Jay. I wrote something down to thank Jay for. So I'm going to thank him for some of those things. I mean, many of us could write a book. We could be up here all afternoon if I had to write everything down that I'm thankful for him for. One thing I'd like to thank him for is when we drove in the city, he let go of control. When I was driving in the city and Jay was, wingman, he just knew he couldn't tell me what, wait, go this way, do that. It's like, Jay, I gotta be aggressive. I just gotta go for it. You're just gonna have to hold on, because I had 5 years of training in New York, so, there's not much etiquette when you're city driving. It's not like being out in the lineup. When you're city driving, you gotta drop in on people. Yeah, so that's probably where I get it from. It's all those years in New York. And I would also like to thank Jay for being such a rule follower. He was a rule follower. And he helped me become more of a rule follower. He might have got a little frustrated sometimes when I didn't follow the rules. Like when we were in the old gray van, and we're riding up to the airport to take our trip to Hawaii, and Mel's driving, and Jay's behind us, and I'm riding shotgun in a camping chair. Like literally took a camping chair, folded it out, and I sat there. And I'm like, okay, hey, that's all right. And Jay's like, Jack, can you put your seatbelt on? I was like, really? Well, he's like, just do me a favor and put the seatbelt on. If they ride by and they see the seatbelt, they're not going to know you're in a camping chair. And he was right. So I did it. I did have to remind him when he was driving and I was riding with him when we were in Delaware, if I had a beer and it was open, it was legal. Because you're allowed to have an open container as a passenger. So he might not have been comfortable with it, but it was legal. So we can move on to the next one. So what this leads into is just Jay's progression as a surfer. Okay, because these are the early days. Stuff like this happened. And yes, that ended bad when he came up. I didn't get the picture of that, but it was one for the, you know, the Wall of Fame for all the injuries we've had over the years with the black bloody eye. And that's actually my brother in the background, so I think he pushed him into that wave too, so we can blame him for part of that. But he had an amazing progression on this board, and then if we go to the next slide, and Matt Garbutt is here. Thank you, Matt, for shaping. This is Jay's first board that he had Matt shape for him. And I remember taking it out in Assateague just for like a test run. I think Jeff and Adam were there. Can't remember who else. And we're like, whoa, I don't know about this, you know. And that was with this one, right? We're like, it's a lot different, you know. We like the big wide board that you can float well on, you know. But he knew what he needed. He knew what he needed, and he knew how he was going to progress as a surfer. And he got on that board and rode it very well and shredded it all the time. And which leads into even more progression with the next slide. On his second Garbutt board, which he went, you know, a little smaller, whatever he did. I remember telling all the guys, like, hey, he's shaping him another board and it's going to be smaller. You know, like, crazy. You know, like, but he knew, you know, Jay knew, and he charged, and he knew what his body could do. He knew that he was so in tune with everything. So in tune with everything. Anybody who ever had to assemble his board, you know, like, yeah, you watch, you know, supervise and tell you right down to the, you know, to the 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, what needs to be where. So along with that progression, we all progressed as a team. You know, so thank you guys as well for allowing Jay to progress and progressing with him as we were able to. It's just amazing. And you know, people all the time you hear if you go to a service, you might say, oh, they touched everybody. But with Jay, people were just drawn to him. He just had that mystique about him. People were drawn to him, and people wanted to talk to him, and people wanted his guidance. And he was our surf coach as well. We'd have our sessions. Jay would have his session, and then we all hit the water. And we have our session. And then we come out and we talk to Jay. He's like, yeah, you might want to lean him a little more forward. You know, I saw you take that right, but you should have went left. You know, like, everybody had that. And you looked forward to it because he was right. He was right. And we appreciate that, not only on the beach, but in life as well. He was a coach for us, for many of us, and gave us a lot of good sound advice. Okay, I'm not sure what's up next. Okay. So you guys will have heard about the trips and seen pictures of some of the trips. We've gone to a lot of places, and I thank Jay for that. Without meeting Jay, I never would have went to any of these places. Not even the Outer Banks, which is 5 hours south of here. I probably wouldn't have made it. But this day in particular was a session we had, spring break. It was March down there, and we were in South Nags Head. And Been in South Nags Head all week, and Jay was just waiting for his day to go surf because we couldn't surf in Nags Head because the water was too cold. It was like 48. We had to go down to Frisco around the point where the water was like 62 degrees. Jay's threshold was 60. So we're riding down Route 12, and it was like cold and rainy and overcasty. And we're riding down Route 12, and I had butterflies like crazy because I had never been down there. I'd surfed with one of these guys, a couple of these guys once, and just the unknown. You know, like where are we going? What's this break gonna be? What are we getting into? And these 3 wave clouds were in the horizon, driving down Route 12, and I knew that everything was gonna be okay. And when we got down there for that day, like, you know, Jay has a knack for like having these sessions where things just turn on, and the sky opened up, the sun came out, the kids were playing in the water, and we had a great sessions. Dolphins came out swimming, and it was just, it was magical. So that was one of our experiences from the Outer Banks. And, oh, thank you. I don't know if any, I don't think any of the OBX crew is here today, but I wasn't gonna acknowledge the camera because act like it wasn't there, but if any of you guys are watching, I'd like to thank Jared, Bob, Fat Tony, Ken Savage, Cody, and thanks a lot. That the Outer Banks is a home away from home for us now. It really is. And you know, we surfed Jeanette's Pier, we surfed Frisco, we surfed the shark-infested waters of Road Anthony, wherever Ed O'Connor and Dwayne are. Every time they tell that story, the shark gets bigger. But it was true. We've all seen a shark down there. Okay. And then obviously we went to Hawaii, which was our first trip. And thank you, Jenny Booth, for putting the nomination for the contest and getting us out there. I remember when they got the news and Jay and Mel called me at like 9:30 at night and just crying that he won, and then everybody's crying. And as you can see, Jay just had it was like always meant to be when he ran into people and just met people. So he had met Jesse before, but we ran into him in a hotel lobby where we were staying. You know, they just like, we're going out, and then Jesse just gets dropped off in the lobby, and they're like, oh, and then they're talking for 15 minutes, and Jesse's like, let me show you my boards, and it was just like unbelievable. It's so meant to be. And then the next day, Jesse was like, I think somebody's in my room. I was like, Jay, you got Jesse's room that he gets every time he comes to Turtle Bay. Guess what? We're in it. Jesse, we're not leaving. We had a really good view. But I truly believe there's a Hawaiian connection with Jay and just the whole spirit and culture and the surf culture and the spirit of Hawaii. I don't know a lot about it, but I think Jay has a true connection with it because he used to go there as a kid, and he always wanted to get back there, and we got back there, and it was amazing. So that's that. And then we had our Puerto Rico trip, which a lot of people were there for. But this session in particular, this was our last day. We started out, well, it was a great family trip, you know, but it was a great family trip, trip of a lifetime. But Jay needed some waves. And we started out with some waves in the beginning. Waves got a little frustrating in the middle. And then we had our last day. And I was like, okay, need Jeff and Dwayne get up. I think it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And we drive from Isabella down to Sandy Beach and Rincon to check it out. We're like, we gotta go scout and see where it's working. And we get there and it's like 1 foot little rollers, and we're like, damn. You know, Jay needs to surf. We got to have something to put them on today. So then we drive back up to another spot, and it was worse. And we just said, you know, we're on the phones and sending the message like, we're going back to Sandy Beach. That's where we're surfing. And we get there, and the ocean woke up for like 2 hours. It literally woke up, and this was there. Jay surfed. I think he surfed for 2 hours, which I think this is probably the longest session he's ever had. And everybody was exhausted. Everybody. Coming out with 2 cramps. I went from the outside to the inside because my legs were cramped. And you can just see all the pure exhaustion on everybody's face in that picture. And we really left it all on the beach that day. And that was a very special day and a very special session and moment. All right. With California, you guys saw some of this in OCL's video. But again, Jay just, like, we just went to Bird Surf Shed, and we pull up, and all of a sudden, Spike Kane is getting out of his van. You know, Spike Kane is like a legendary adaptive surfer out there in Southern California. And we get out there, and it was just so meant to be. Spike was there. And, like, you can't write that kind of stuff. You really can't. And like in regards to California, you know, Jay talked to all of us, and he knew his time was running out. So we're like, okay, what do we do? And he wanted to go surf California. So we did, and we all got together and decided how to approach it, and we did the You Caring fundraiser, and thank you, Brad, for all your hard work for that. And thank you, anybody that is in the audience today that contributed to that trip. It has long-lasting, life-lasting impacts. Because Jay could have competed. You know what I mean? Realize, like, Jay can do this. Like, he can surf in these competitions. He can do it. But time ran out for that. But in the end, we went out there, and Jay, as you heard in the opening video, Jay made an impact in a week. Everybody knew who he was at Cardiff. They all knew him. And because of that, this year in October, they're going to be giving an annual award at the U.S. Open Adaptive Surfing Championships in Jay's name. So even though he didn't compete, his name is going to live on forever in the sport. And that's very comforting. The next picture, you saw this one too, and you heard about his life coming full circle. And that's another just crazy occurrence of seeing Rob Machado, and thank goodness Little John ran him down. He took off, even though he had a toddler and like hands full of diapers and milk and orange juice, you know. Little John ran him down, and that's when we found out, after that day talking to Rob, that's when we found out that Cardiff is where Jesse surfed, and that movie that got Jay back into surfing. So it really did come full circle, and it's just amazing. And if you ever run into a celebrity with Lonnie, watch out. You might get a little close to him. Okay. All right. And then I'd just like to thank Jay. Thank Jay for just being one of the guys. You know, he was. He was just one of the guys. He was just one of us. Right? You just hanging out. You didn't think about, most of the time you didn't think about any of the limitations and things that he had. When we're just, you know, sitting around just having fun. And it's never more evident with his ridicule of Eddie Evans in Puerto Rico. We left Eddie one day, And as a lot of you know, it's turned into a big story. If you don't know, ask somebody later, they'll tell you all about it. But Jay came up with this bumper sticker as, you know, as kind of a play on the Eddie I Cow. Eddie would go if we can find him. So that was him kind of getting on Eddie Evans a little bit. So he was one of the guys, and we're going to miss that for sure. And then this picture is just to thank Jay for, you know, he truly accepted everybody for who they were, welcomed everybody, had a genuine interest in everybody. I mean, see how we just grew and grew and grew, and Jay knew each individual and what they did and what they were doing and conversed with them about all that stuff. You know, and it's such a great example to have somebody like that. And he set the tone for our team. He was our leader, our captain. He set the tone. You know, like, you know, Ronnie, who's now nicknamed Pops. I know Pops is in a house somewhere. Him and Brad, I think, would often say, you know, we're like a band of misfits. You know, people from all walks of life. We're part of Team Surf Camp, and that's all credit to Jay and his acceptance and of all that. So thank you for that, Jay. Okay, I'm not even sure. All right. So, this is just thanking Jay for being Uncle Jay. Have you guys heard with Dorfler in the beginning? So many kids have been brought up knowing Jay and how he lives and the model that he sets. And I mean, this is just a fraction of them. Okay, all the little Groms. That's just a few of them. But Jay took, as with everybody, I mean, he loved all the kids. And he took his time with them, too. He would make sure he made conversation with them and talked to them and played with them and joked with them. So I need to thank Jay for that. And I need to thank Jay for letting me name my son after him. I don't know what we would have done if it was a girl. Because we didn't find out with any of our kids. We didn't find out, but we knew what we were going to name our son if we had one. And Jay would tell you it's one of the biggest honors of his life, but it's the other way around. It's the biggest honor of my life. And if the way James was charging that snow hill the other day is any indication of how he's gonna just go after it, well, he's kind of living up to it in that aspect. Anyway, but there's a lot more than that to it. So, all right. Then I want to thank Jay for being my brother. We spent a lot of time together, and just as much valuable time on land as in the water. When he would just call and say, hey, I'm just going to come swing by if you're not doing anything. And that happened all the time. Just come up. Well, you know, sometimes we'd sit in the driveway, I'd pull the computer out, and we're watching surfing out in the driveway on the laptop, you know, watching the competitions. But in particular, in more recent history, my twin brother passed away October 9th. And so the next morning I went out, I got to get in the water. All right, so I get out there, it's October 10th, I'm in the water, and had a really nice long ride. Had an emotional moment in the water. Should have got out, left it there. But our surfers were greedy, we want one more. And I went for one more, and I took one on the head, my board on the head, really bad. And 6 staples, and before I knew, it all happened so quick. Paul Kaminich gave me a ride to the ER, dropped me off, and then, Jay was there within 10 or 15 minutes as he knew what was going on, with a surf camp sweatshirt to keep me warm in the ER. And Annie was there too, so thank you, Annie, wherever she is. She remembers. But I'm sitting there in the hospital a day after. I was there the day before in that same freaking ER, and I could see. I could see the room that I had to go into the day before. To see my brother. But, Jay was there. And I don't think I could have made it through that moment without him being there. And that whole week, you take off because your brother died, so you take off of work because you got stuff you got to take care of. And that whole week was like it rained every single day. It was like my brother's Irish ancestors, like waking all, it's like Irish weather all week. But I spent a couple, if not a few hours every day with Jay that week. And, people would leave the house, I'd be home alone, and I would ride down to his house. And, I just couldn't wait to get through the door, just to hug him. And let it out, So we had each other's back, for sure, and I'm so thankful for that. Okay. And finally, I want to thank Jay for asking Mel to marry him. And thank you for saying yes. As you guys know, these guys demonstrate and show us what love is all about. We learn a lot from you guys. Thank you. And that was, you see this picture here, but that was, the night that Jay passed away, and Melanie was able to fall asleep in his arms as he comforted her and passed away. That was just beautiful. And then their wedding song came on right after that. So we can move to the next one. And I want to thank Jay's family, James and Edie and Jennifer, for raising such a fine son, brother, and letting him go crazy with all of us over here. Thank you for that. And finally, took this picture of Jay in Hawaii at the pool bar right after it rained. And you can see the rainbow. I'm so thankful that I got to sit out the back of the lineup many, many days and look on the horizon and look for a wave to push Jay into. But now I guess it's his turn to push me into some. Aloha and mahalo, my brother. I'll see you in the water.
Give it up for Will Frederick. And big sister Lena. Nice job, Lena. Liam.
Ooh.
Awesome. Our next speaker is Heather Markham, a friend of Jay's from Life Rolls On.
Thank you very much. So last spring I wrote my story in all 115,000 word verbosity that it was. The chapters are little glimpses of how I see God's provision in the middle of my muscular dystrophy. The sections are groupings of times frames, and the last section is called Life Rolls On and Surfing Stories. The book is with my editor and hopefully will be released this summer. Titled Undone, I'd like to share some excerpts with you. Sorry, too much wine. Excerpts with you, along with a few other thoughts. It is an understatement to say that I fell in love with surfing in 2009. Jay and I began surfing together at Virginia Beach that year. In 2010, we both surfed at Life Rolls On events in New Jersey and New York. At the New York event, I saw him have a massive wipeout. It looked pretty bad from where I was, sitting on the shore. He went in one direction while his board went in another. A life vest wasn't visible from where I sat, so I'm not even sure if he was wearing one. He ended up face down in the water, and having quadriplegia, couldn't turn himself over. I counted the seconds as the volunteers raced towards him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then his team had him, righted him so that he had air and held on to him. When he got back on land and settled, I asked him about the wipeout. I said, what do you do when you end up like that face down? He said, I hold my breath and wait. I know they're coming for me. He trusted his team. He had faith in them. Now, this wasn't his regular team. These were just Life Rolls On volunteers. Hebrews 1:11 says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. It seems very simple, but it struck me as profound. How often was I in a situation where I should have faith, instead just floundering around and panicking? His words continued to resonate for me. If you combine Hebrews 1:11 with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you get, have faith, don't panic, and always carry a towel. Sounds like great surfing advice to me. Jay brought his board to Wildwood Crest in 2011. I was grateful that he entrusted me with using it, and I loved riding it. I could finally see where I was going without straining my neck, and it was so stable. It just felt like an extension of my body. When I wrote this in April 2017, his third board had just been completed ahead of the surf trip to Puerto Rico with his own group of friends who are his water team, Team Surf Gimp. I heard the Challenged Athletes Foundation provided grants to adaptive athletes for training, travel, and equipment. And believing my own recently dubbed status as Life Rolls On's Athlete of the Year, I applied for a grant in December of 2015 to purchase my own surfboard. I reached out to Jay to find some more about his board, the shape, setup, etc., since I'd ridden it in both 2011 and 2012 and found it to be like driving a Porsche. Fast, maneuverable, and steady in the turns. He graciously offered to give me his old board, but since I had already submitted my grant, I told him I would only take him up on it if the CAF turned me down. But they didn't. I got a grant, and Jay helped me find a shaper. Island-inspired surfboards down in Myrtle Beach. They were wonderful. I sent them pictures and everything, but it just didn't end up like I thought. Jay said I would need a helmet in addition to a board and a bag, and I said, really, a helmet? It'll ruin my cute. He said, yeah, that's what I thought too. And then my board whacked me in the head. A concussion and nearly 20 stitches later, I've changed my mind. When I got the board, I tried and tried and tried, and I just couldn't stay on it. I figured I would have to adapt, but long story short, I never did. It was 8 feet long like I'd asked for, and I'd had no idea that Jay's board was built from a 9-foot-long, 26-inch wide, 4-inch thick sup blank. Kate and Todd graciously took their board back in exchange for a future board. In November, Jay gave me his first surfboard. It is my privilege to be able to keep it in the water, and I will follow the rules that he gave me. These are on video on Facebook if you haven't seen them. It's wonderful. Number 1, leave the Surf Gimp sticker on. I assured him there was nothing that would ever make me take it off. It must be surfed often. You need to wear a helmet. It must be shared. It must be loved. And you must shred on it. And when you're done, if it is still in shape, pass it on. And if it's not, see if Bird's Surf Shed will put it on the wall. And make sure, he said, because he knows me, and by then he should know you too. Try to proselytize surfing. I know that the provision for those things that still need to happen will happen. It always appears. And I heard some words from Matt Smith, who played the 11th Doctor Who. And Jay never said them, but it strikes me that he would have, or at least he lived it. Be courageous and ridiculous. I hope that you found encouragement, as I have, from Jay, and will continue to be courageous and ridiculous in your own right as you chase your impossible dreams, see the provision, and give yourself permission to become undone.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Next, we have a poem from Colleen Walls, Jay's aunt, to share with us.
After my final visit with Jay, I went to the Milton Library to meet a friend. When I arrived, my friend had not yet arrived, so while I waited, I perused the aisles of the library. As an avid reader, a poet, and an English journalism major, the library is one of my favorite places to visit. As an interesting side note, Milton, Jay and Mel's home, established in 1675, was originally named Head of Broughton, and in 1807 it was renamed Milton after the English poet John Milton, famous for his epic poem Paradise Lost. Jay was always a beacon of hope to me, and when I lost sight of paradise, Jay's inspiration would always renew my hope. So with the emotions of my last visit with Jay pressing on me, I selected a book of poetry anthology from the shelf and prevailed on my higher power to provide some comfort to me. Please, Lord, guide my hand to find a poem of comfort and one that represents Jay. And I opened the book to the following poem by Percy Shelley, and it's called The Two Spirits, an Allegory. First spirit, O thou who plumed with strong desire, wouldst float above the earth, beware, a shadow tracks the flight of fire, night is coming. Bright are the regions of the air, and among the winds and beams, I were delight to wander there. Night is coming. Second spirit, the deathless stars are bright above. If I would cross the shade of night,
Within my heart is the lamp of love, and that is day. And the moon will smile with gentle light on my golden plumes wherever they move. The meteors will linger round my flight and make night day. First Spirit. But if the whirlwinds of darkness waken, hail and lightning and stormy rain, see the bounds of the air are shaken. Night is coming. The red swift clouds of the hurricane, you declining sun have overtaken. The clash of the hail sweeps over the plain. Night is coming. Second Spirit. I see the light and I hear the sound. I'll sail on the flood of the tempest dark, with the calm within the light around, which makes night day. And thou, when the gloom is deep and stark, look from the dull earth slumber bound. My moon-like flight thou then mayst mark, on high, far away. Some say there is a precipice where one vast pine is frozen to rain, over piles of snow and chasms of ice, mid-alpine mountains, and that the languid storm pursuing, the winged shape forever flies. Round these hoar branches are renewing, and its airy foundation, some say when nights are dry and clear, and the death dew sleep on the morass, sweet whispers are heard by the traveler, which makes night day, and a silver shape like his early love doth pass upon by her wild and glittering hair, and when he awakes on the fragrant grass, he finds night day. Now for my modern iPhone owning, texting audience, I know that this poem in Old English is somewhat difficult to understand. The synopsis of the poem is there are two travelers, Spirit 1 and Spirit 2. Spirit 1 is pessimistic and worried about the perils of the journey ahead, and the second spirit is optimistic about the journey ahead. I'm like the first spirit. My view of the world is the journey is a dangerous one. Jay lived his life like the second spirit. The journey ahead is an adventure, and no matter where the journey was taking him, even if it was his last journey, my advice in this journey we call life is be like Jay.
Oh, you guest speaker? Okay. Thank you, Colleen. Next, we have a man of many words, some of which you might be able to understand through that thick New Zealand accent. Brad Dennehy.
As Brad walks up, one of the funny jokes that we had with Jay is just trying to understand what the New Zealand to English translation is. So my son Will is walking around. We got a copy of Brad's talk ahead of time, and he's walking around with a glossary of terms to help you understand what he's trying to say. So anybody viewing from Christ Church, they'll get it, what he's saying. But this is just to help you out as you go along. This is one of my dearest brothers, and just let him speak from the heart, because that's where he's going to come from.
Gee, that's quite an entrance, isn't it? But yeah, if you can't understand me, I don't blame you. On most days, I can't understand myself. So If you feel like getting up and going to the bar at any stage in the next few minutes, I won't blame you. I'm actually running a tab, and feel free to put it on my tab. It's under Ron Phillips, R-O-N. So, on that note, my introduction to Team Surf Gimp started with a warning. But that warning didn't come from Jay, it came from Susanna Frederick. And Susanna may be married to a Frederick, but she is very much a Martin first and foremost. And the Martins are a solid family, and they've been on this ride with Jay since day one. But if there's something anyone quickly discovers about the Martins, they are nothing if not direct. So I was standing on Lewis Beach with a beer in one hand, and I met a very pregnant Susanna Frederick. Do you know this is a true story if I've got a beer in one hand and Susanna Frederick's pregnant? So anyway, she took one look at me, and the first thing she said to me, "Oh, so you live in Milford? Well, you're not going to be allowed to be friends with my husband." And she turned away and walked off. So, now, I've learned a long time ago not to sort of argue with any pregnant woman, but that's like a challenge to a New Zealander. Like, all right, so I've got to meet this guy. So, not long after that, I was standing in a bar in Milford with her husband, Jack Frederick, and Ed Evans, and Jack said, "I've got this friend who's in a wheelchair, and we need to take him surfing. We need help tomorrow. Do you think you can make it?" Having never said no to any idea that's ever been hatched in a bar, we both said, "Sure, we'll be there." So the next day we met Jay and whoever else was there, Jeff, I'm sure, probably a couple of the Martins. Had a brief introduction, was given no instruction, and waded out at Northside Indian River, and we were thrust straight away into the madness of surfing with Jay. I was in awe of not just what I was witnessing, but the situation I found myself in. I'd previously been lucky enough to surf in some crazy places with some fairly crazy people, but this was by far the craziest. But what I immediately got was that this was about, in its simplest form, was a guy trying to ride waves, and he was depending on me and these other bunch of strangers to just get to him so he didn't drown. To witness that, pure stoke and trust and be a part of it was just an overwhelming sensation. I remember standing in the water and feeling tears roll down my face that first day. It hit me that hard, and as they say, the rest is history. Over the last few years, that feeling never diminished. Every time I went surfing with Jay and the team, it was a surreal experience in some way or another. The whole notion of taking a severely quadriplegic person surfing and not having them drown is insane at best. I don't know how many times I shook my head in disbelief and said, "This is madness." But it was oh so cool at the same time, and it just kept me coming back for more and more. I know I've never belonged to something, nor will I ever be likely to be mixed up in something as important as what Team Surf Gimp is. I've tried to reason and analyse what Surf Gimp stands for, and I believe it represents compassion, love, and humanity at its best. Jay had this ability, as Jack said, he had this ability to attract a bunch of misfit toys, as we would joke. And he had this amazing ability to attract people to him who at their core are decent people. In the water, all that stuff we dealt with on the land, all that crap, it all disappeared. The labels, the insecurities, the egos, they literally just floated away as we united in a common goal of getting Jay on a wave. I never once saw how the team looked from the beach in action, because if I was there, I had to be amongst it. I don't know how it looked, but I know how it felt, and it felt good. The feeling of a shared purpose is a good feeling. To see someone push the envelope was a good feeling. To see someone smile pure joy was a good feeling. To know that you had support from like-minded people was a good feeling. If you couldn't get there, someone would. To see someone free was a good feeling. To see someone have respite from the pain, albeit briefly, was a good feeling. Over the years, Jay developed friendships with all of us which existed outside of the water on different levels. He went from being Jay in the wheelchair to just Jay. In my case, in some ways, he became a slightly older brother, He was direct with his thoughts and opinions on how I should be doing something. And he was one of the few people in my life I've actually ever listened to and did not want to disappoint. He was incredibly smart, funny, a great writer, but he could drive you nuts at times with his single-mindedness of how something should be done. Like packing a surfboard for a trip, and thank God for John Lenny and OCL on those occasions when we were travelling. They're way more patience than I ever will have. He had tremendous compassion and the ability to look at any individual and only see their good traits. And I think that is one of his lasting legacies. He was able to show us how to accept people for who they are, not what they project or the bodies they are confined to. Above all, he showed us what love is and what love can achieve. I don't think I've ever seen love like I've seen with Surf Gimp. The bond between Jack, Jay, and Adam was without a doubt love in its purest form. I don't know how few sessions Jack Frederick missed over the years, but it couldn't have been more than 2 or 3, and to see him not in the water when Jay was painful. When Adam was leaving for college or about to come home, and to hear Jay speak of Adam was love. To see the way Jay was with kids was love. To hear Jay talk about the ocean was love. To see the way Jay looked at Mel was love. Toward the end, the living wake that occurred at Mel and Jay's home was nothing short of love. To see the endless stream of people turn up day in and day out was something special. The storytelling, the music, the bittersweet laughter, the food. Y'all can cook. Mel, Jennifer, James, and Edie, thank you for sharing your husband, brother, and son with all of us to the end. As hard as it was, we got to say goodbye. Thank you also to Jeff and Dina Land and Ron Phillips, who just seemed to be constant fixtures and rocks to crash against during that time. They were steadfast in their loyalty and friendship to Jay. I miss Jay. Little John, who we surf with and is here today, works the night shift, and he'll often send me texts at obscure hours. And in one just recently, he said he finds himself talking to Jay. And I think I do the same. I can hear his voice in my head, and it's as plain as day, usually giving advice and calling me out on my actions, challenging me to do better. I'm fortunate I got to call Jay friend. I'm glad we got him to Puerto Rico, and those sessions at Sandy Beach, as Jeff and Jack alluded to, will live on forever. I'm glad we got him to San Diego, and fate took us to Cardiff Reef. I'm glad that he got to surf with other adaptive surfers, and for once he wasn't the odd man out. One day comes to mind, especially at Cardiff Reef, where we had 3 or 4 other adaptive surfers in the water, and Team Surf Gimp was knee-deep in it. Our crew was scattered across the car park, beaches, in the shallows, out back, either getting someone in the water, back on some sort of a surfboard or a wave ski, or just trying to make sure someone wasn't drowning. Combined with fairly decent-sized waves, paddle boarders, and a packed lineup, it was nothing short of total, utter chaos, which is what we thrive on. And I remember swimming back out the midsection and Jay coming by smiling, and Jack Frederick turns to me, and only Jack Frederick could get away with that sheepish grin of his. And he offered up this pure gem. You've got to quit messing with those other cripples. We've got our own cripple to worry about. I will cherish the black humour that existed in the water with Team Surf Gimp. The ability to laugh at yourself in the situation was pretty well much an unwritten requirement. I think the challenge here today is, how does Surf Gimp go on? How do we as a team move forward? How do we continue to help other people, show compassion and to love? What would Jay want us to do? What would he expect us to do? How do we continue to live like Jay and to love like Jay and Mel? Jay, you left a massive impact on me and all of us. Thank you for all the good times we had, the time in the water and out of the water. Thank you for showing my kids that a disability doesn't have to define your outlook on life. Thank you for the misfit friends I've picked up along the way. And especially to those watermen and waterwomen I got to share the ocean with. Your bravery knew no bounds. Thanks for showing me what compassion is, what love is, and allowing me to be part of humanity at its best. I only wish we could have had more time and a few more waves together. Goodbye, mate. You are loved. You are missed.
Thanks, Brad. I understood every word, and powerful words they were. Next up, we got Yvette Denny and Steve Forestieri to share a song with us.
So before we share this song, I'm Yvette Dennehy. Brad, my husband, who just spoke, came to me about a week ago and asked me to sing this song, and I said, well, I've never sung this song, but he said that it really spoke to him. It's a song by Coldplay, and it's called Fix You. So we had to coerce Steve into graciously playing, but he did, and we've put it together. But if you listen to the lyrics, Brad said that it spoke to him because all he wanted to do was fix Jay. He wanted to fix him so that he was not in pain and he had more time with us and he could walk and surf and everything else. But I think the words that we've heard here today kind of show us the irony that while we might have wanted to fix Jay, Jay was actually fixing on us for the most part. So here we go.
Try your best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, but not what you need. When you feel so tired, but you can't sleep. Stuck in reverse. When the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, and when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. And high up above or down below, when you're too in love to let it go, and if you try, you'll never know just what you're worth. And lights will guide you home and ignite your bones. And I will try to fix you. Tears stream down your face when you lose something you cannot replace. Tears stream down your face now. Tears stream down your face. I promise you I will learn from my mistakes. Tears stream down your face, and lights will guide you home and ignite your bones. And I will try to fix you.
Just keeps getting better. Heather Flood from Team Surfgim, from our Surfgim family, come on up, please, to share some thoughts.
Like many of you, I believe that my children's memories of Jay will be linked to the beach. I hope they remember the laughter, the waves, the s'mores, the sand in their face, the sun, the sunburn, because they're fair-skinned. Irving will remember the summer that Jay got his new beach wheels and followed him around all afternoon. Irving will remember cheering him on when he caught a wave and laughing as only he would when Jay wiped out. My kids love the ocean, and I believe a large part of that is due to John, the Fred kids, Seth, the Lenny kids, and all the other team kids playing in the water. Who wants to stay on the hot sand when all the other kids are playing in the waves? These are precious memories that I want my children to have forever. My memories are of a different place entirely. When I think of Jay, I think of their kitchen table. Most of you know that Mel and I became friends first. She started to invite me over for dinner, and initially Jay and I would just kind of look at each other sideways, sizing each other up. Over time, we talked and we realized we had a lot in common. Soccer, Ronaldo and the puff of wind, Messi being the best player ever, politics, psychology, and most importantly, food. With Jay, food wasn't just something to eat to sustain you. It was more than that. It was an event. It was something he could fully experience. It didn't matter that he was in a wheelchair. Have you, any of you really watched Jay eat? I'm sure some of you had. But when you really watch him, he would take a bite. He'd lift his chin, close his eyes, and slowly chew. And if it was a good bite, he'd have this huge grin across his face. He truly knew how to savor food, especially if it was a bite of the 1 pound eclair or a decadent brownie that Pam made. Jay could be so picky about his food too, and we all know that. Microwave that for 1 minute, 7 seconds. 2 shakes of salt, not 1. It needs to be more hot sauce in that. You know, mix the spicy with the honey barbecue sauce, and the list went on and on and on. But food always brought him such enjoyment. It was definitely worth it. The results, of course, were the best. Jay always had the best plate in the house. We spent hours in the kitchen, cooking, eating, talking. Some of my favorite memories include the watermelon daiquiri disaster. We attempted to make caramels, and a stretch of time that Jay and Mel insisted on making homemade breads. We laughed, talked, ate, and laughed some more. That feeling you get from a good mood, from a good meal and good company is unlike any other. All these memories, the laughter, the debates, the joy, they represent just little moments of time, snippets, flashes, just flashes in time, but they are an important reminder. Enjoy those little moments, the bites of delicious food, the sound of your friends' laughter, the company of those closest to you. These memories might seem unremarkable at the time, but will make the greatest of memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. As you mentioned, the s'mores, as the sun starts to set, I think somebody needs to go out there and get the bonfire going for the surf and burn. Next up, Trish Galilee, a friend of Jay's who worked with Jay when he was training his service dog. My microphone man is coming to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to hope to get through this. We all knew that when at Fighters for Freedom in Laurel, Maryland is where we all met, and it was a very special time. It was about 20 years ago, just shortly after Jay was at the University of Maryland, actually living in my old dorm room. It was sort of funny. So I met him, and he came in, and the organization was concerned because they had never trained a dog for someone who's a quadriplegic. Well, we know Jay wasn't going to put up with that, and neither was Debbie, who was one of the head trainers. So eventually, long story short, after many hours of training and trying to figure this all out, Jay got this wonderful dog named Teddy, Theodore. Yes, and Jay, Teddy was sponsored by Joanne and Don Amon. So, and we were all family. He took my dog out. We were a big family. So this sort of sort of a little deja vu for me, because it feels a lot like the same thing that we all went through. Debbie was our base at the time, and she was so wonderful. Sorry. I miss her too. Anyway, so we would go everywhere together, trying to drum up money for this organization, because we knew the only way it was going to survive was to get a building. So we went everywhere together, and I was really glad that Jay came along, because I was doing a lot of being sent all over to speak and talk about dogs and how wonderful they are. And Jay was another person who was a wonderful speaker. Teddy changed his life. Teddy took this man who really was trying to figure out who he was, and I could see that this dog really gave him a level of independence that he hadn't had before. And I loved when Jay told the story about how he was counseling someone and how having Ted there was really helpful, because some of the children he would talk to would not want to open up, and that dog really opened it up for him. Our dogs, for all of us, break down the barrier of someone who sees someone in a wheelchair, and most people can't get their dog to sit on command. And the fact that we can get our dogs to do all these amazing things. The night Jay got his dog, we put him up on his lap with a pillow, and so he could hold him and love on him. And Jay said it was the first time he ever felt Ted's soft face because he rubbed his face on him. We never knew. He couldn't feel him. He'd always pet all the dogs and everything, never telling us that and we didn't think about it. But that was just the way it was because we were all trying to make all this work. And, service dogs weren't a big thing back then, so there was a lot of discrimination, and people wouldn't want us in their restaurants and all kinds of things. So we faced a lot of hurdles. And Jay was a great speaker, and we raised money. We did eventually get a building. And Jay and I became deep friends, and I don't think a year went by that I didn't make a trip to the beach, except, last year, one year I didn't because my dog wasn't well, but he was always there listening, and he drew a wonderful caricature of me and my first dog, Jelly Bean, after we lost him. And he really captured his spirit, too, and that was beautiful. So I have it hanging on my wall. Thank you, Mel, for putting that together, and it's a wonderful memory for me. And Jay and I would have these deep conversations, and we'd always comment on the fact that if anybody walked up and heard us talking, they'd think we were nuts, because we were talking about the fact that our lives were going to not be as long as they should be, that we had to overcome so many things. I've been in a chair my whole life, so it's very different when when people have accidents. It's just different, and so we bonded over that. I really am at a loss to know who I'm going to call when I need to figure something out for my wheelchair. Yeah, he was my maintenance guy, and I have all these things. I have all these things around my house that remind me of Jay, because he's like, oh, tie this on the wall, do that, do this. Oh, Trish, you got that little thing under the back seat there. Why don't you put a hinge on it? You can put stuff under it. Well, gee, I feel so embarrassed. I didn't think about that. And the one thing I always remember him telling me, I think he said it to me at least 100 times, was, well, Trish, I just go surf. I'm like, why are you going surfing? This is insane. You could drown, you could die, you could get hit. He's like, but Trish, you know me. And I've always been a daredevil. I figured when I was a teenager, I was either going to be dead or in a wheelchair. Yeah, and that was his sort of philosophy of life, and that was really interesting. I want to share something with you that one of our friends said when she was asked why she trained the dogs. And I know it was right after she was training with Jay at the time. And she said, it's not about the dogs. She was asked how can she give up these animals every time she trains them. And she goes, I don't do it for that. It's not about the dogs. For me, it's about spending time with these disabled people who look at life in a way that I didn't think was possible. They have the courage to get up every day, get dressed, and go on with their lives despite all that they're going through. And to me, that's very inspiring. It makes my problems seem very small. And I know she's up there with him. We love her too. She left us too early as well. But I know that she meant so much to all of us to bring us together. And Jay carried that legacy through too, of bringing all of you together. So I wish Surf Gift all the best. And I hope that I get to see you more in the future. But no, I'm not surfing. I'm sorry. I'd be happy if you take my dog in the surf. He'd love it, but sorry, it's just not my thing. I like to travel. I kept trying to tell him, leave me alone. Stop trying to get me to do that. I'm too old.
Thank you. Next, Jason Beal from the Surf Gimp team to come up and share a song with us.
So you see the human body is 75% water. I think it's curious also that the chemistry of our blood, the salinity is the same as the ocean water. With all the tears shed here tonight, I think 75, that percentage might be closer to 99, which seems appropriate for Surf Gimp. This is a song I wrote for Jay 10 years before I met him. This is a song I wrote and really had no context for it. I never played it. And as we were heading down to Milton in November, trying to think, what do you play for somebody that you know you're probably seeing for the last time? I realized this is the song, and it's really about Surf Gimp and what he and Mel created.
Speak free, my brother. Tell me what you feel. I'll lend an open ear and help your scars to heal. Think quick, my mind, but let my heart decide. I want to live each day like a sandalene on the tide. Guide me, my mentor, your lessons, they will live on in the future generations who will learn from those who have come and gone. Live well with one another every moment of each day. There's no division, let those illusions fade away. There's a song we're singing and it's ringing through the air. Let your voice join the chorus, give thanks everywhere. Condemn not your enemy, try and understand. We all have the same needs from the same land. Walk away, my friend, some places are not for you. Follow your own light and let it carry you on through. There's a song we're singing and it's ringing through the air. Let your voice join the chorus, give thanks everywhere. Join the chorus if you want. There's a song we're singing and it's ringing through the air. Let your voice join the chorus, give thanks everywhere.
And so as I learned about the Surf Gimp Foundation being created, obviously there's a lot of work we can all do to move on, and just want to leave with some words that come from somewhere in the Bible that I found years ago, and I can't remember, but it's you can kill the singer, but you can't kill the song.
Thank you, Jason. If I could ask Larry Lane to come up, Jay's brother-in-law, to share a poem with us that kind of describes the unconditional love that he saw from family and friends during Jay's final days.
All right. First, I wrote a little something to explain it. Over the years, I've came down every summer to watch Jay chase his dreams in the water. It started with a very short list of as it turns out, amazing and selfless strangers. As time passed, the volunteers grew in numbers. Even looking in from the outside, it was evident that bonds were formed and true friendships were made. The volunteering became more about post-session snacks than being a Wooderman or a Wooderwoman. The team was getting as much, if not more, from the experience than Jay. The support and growth flowed both ways. But me never truly getting to know anyone on a personal level, it just seemed like an amazing story. We were so happy for him. He had found his people, and together they started building the family that you see here today. But even then, I naively saw it as just surfing. Don't get me wrong, it was always beautiful. It was truly inspiring, but surfing nonetheless. It wasn't until the final 2 weeks of his life that I started to see what they saw. I explained to Melanie that I never fully understood it until I was in it. I had the pleasure of getting to know a handful of some of his closest friends. After listening to their personal experience with Jay and the team, I started to understand the bigger picture. Surfing was the catalyst for many, but that was only where the journey began. In the last days, hours, and minutes, bearing witness to his transition, I believe I was able to clearly feel what it was all about. We're sent to this earth for only two things: to love completely and without conditions, and to serve others. Jay and his team have taught me more over the course of a few lazy summer days scattered here and there, and in the process, awakened my soul's true purpose from its slumber. This is what I wrote for him. It's called The Pieces. When we are born, I believe we awaken with a puzzle piece in our closed fist. Some lose their piece as time unfolds. Some choose to try and complete the puzzle. Every piece and every puzzle are both different and the same. Over the years, I've patiently collected my pieces, found in the shadows and overturned rocks. At times, I lost interest in it. Others, it was all I lived and breathed. No matter how much of the puzzle I completed, it never truly made sense to me. Is it a picture? Are these words? It seems like a feeling, raw emotion. Do I have it all wrong? Am I missing the point? And again, my interest fades. Numb from the static of time past, dreams unfulfilled or never fully realized. It was then that I found it, when I stopped looking, effortless, without question. The puzzle in its entirety, complete, my puzzle. Every piece together in front of me. How could this be, I wondered. I opened my closed fist, my pieces still in my hand. They never left my sight. It was only then that I realized the pieces weren't meant to complete the puzzle. They were the lessons preparing me for the realization that I was looking at it wrong from the start. I was looking outward for the answers, the puzzle, the meaning to everything, to life itself. It was inside me all along. You are my last collected piece, one moment in time. My journey begins.
Thank you, Larry. He's already on the move. John Dorfler. Come on up, bud. To regale us with stories and song.
Okay. All right, so I got a little bit more liquid courage in me than I did before, so I might be a little bit better off. I know it's been a lot of heart up here today. So I've been back and forth all for the last couple of weeks, letting Mel know if I want to do a song or not, and I did. And talking to Jason beforehand, we both said that practicing this stuff over the last couple of weeks, it's hard just to get through in our own homes, knowing the audience and why we'd be playing it. So I saw Liam and Lena up here, and I said, well, hell, I got to do it now. Those kids that came up here and kicked some rear end. So, yeah, let's hear it for them, right? So I thought about what song do I want to play, and this is Celebration of Life, and man, we had some fun times. I've had some awesome times with these people up here, some people back there. People I haven't met. Tonight's the first time I'm meeting some people. I met a lot of people for the first time over the last couple months. Awesome time. So I wanted it to be a fun song. And where this song kind of came out, we had just become part of the Surf Gun family. Unbeknownst to us. And the Dennehy's were having this party over at their house. We're like, come on over. We were brand new to Milford. We're like, this sounds awesome. So Brad, in his Surf Camp tradition, had lots of food and beer there and fun and kids running around. I said, my goodness, my wife and I are here without a family, and we found one. And that's what Jay and Mel brought to us. So I want to hear really loud for Jay, and I want to hear from Mel for bringing us in. Well, we didn't think we had a family. We found one here. So anyway, so it was a fun night, and we saw this, and we're like, wow, we really want to be a part of this. And I knew it was coming, and they were building a tree house. I don't know if it ever got complete. I assumed so. It's been a couple of years now. But man, it made this awesome stage, and I think Jason came with his band equipment, and in typical fashion of the whole crew and how we live, it all just came together magically. And I wanted to sing a song. It was the first time I really knew these people. I hadn't been playing for a while, so it was kind of fun to get back up on stage. And so I played this song, and I understand there's a couple of people here next week going to be joining the same tribe that I am a part of, that Jay was a part of. There's some superficialness here. If you look at that right arm of his, and you look at the left arm, and if you ever saw him with his shirt off, he's got quite a few tattoos. It's pretty cool to see somebody who's got so much of their life together and can relate to somebody like that, and is proud of who he is with the artwork he's got on his body. He took that with him, and we all take that with us, no matter where our journey leads us. And it's pretty cool. It acts as a reminder of where we've been in life. And it was so fun to have a brother like that. And I saw the same person in him that I saw with so much color up and down his body. And which was really weird. And he told me that he only wanted to get tattoos where he could feel it, which I was like, man, if I didn't have to feel it, that'd be way awesome. I'd just be covered in head to toe if I didn't have to feel this. I mean, it's kind of painful after a while, these needles going in and out. So I wanted to sing him this song. So let me see if I can get anything in the monitor. Or am I doing this wrong up here? Oh, wait a minute. Where's Steve? Because there it is. There we go. So before I start the song, a little personal note here. My wife and I, we met. I've been a musician. I've been playing for years or whatever. And my pickup line to her was, hey, I play in a band. Do you want to come and watch me practice? It worked. And here we are 16 years later. I'll hear about that later. And so when I got up on that stage at the Denny's house and I said, Jay, this song's for you. I'm dedicating you this song. Jay, my wife, semi-regularly reminds me I've never dedicated a song to her. So, ooh, I know, right? Ooh. So I dedicated this song to him. I'd like to dedicate it to him again because it's pretty fun. And I'm also going to kind of dedicate to everybody else who's going to be there on the 27th that Gets Up Inc. I know a first couple of us were there for the original bro tattoos, and that's a memory that'll always be there. That last picture we saw on Facebook, I was pretty happy I was there for that. Anyway, I hope none of you all of a sudden get sick or all of a sudden busy like a certain somebody that I will not call out that day. And all make it to your appointments on the 27th. So here we go. Oh, it's payday. Yes, it's payday. got my paycheck from the man. There's not too many jobs that I can get these days. There's box all over my hand. Oh, I'm gonna take the walk, I'm gonna take the check to the wrong side of this town. Gonna open the doors, I'm gonna bask in the roar of the familiar buzz and needle sound. 'Cause the ink in my skin, where the needle went in, however many years ago, it left marks on my arm and they say who I am everywhere that I go. Some people have lots, some have ones they're ashamed of. Some people think that we're fools. Some people don't get it, and some people don't care. And some of us, we have tattoos. Oh, it's fading, yes, it's fading. Those beliefs I had back then. The ink has started running and the skin has started sagging. I got bloody tattoos from people who aren't my friends. Oh, I've even got black X's back from when I was straight edge. So let's open up, be your friends, and let's take a pledge. If we had the luck to live our lives a second chance through, we'd be sure to get a surf gimp tattoo, right? 'Cause the ink in my skin, where the needle went in, however many years ago, they left marks on my arm and they say who I am everywhere that I go. Some people have lots, some have ones they're ashamed of. And some people think that we're fools. Some people don't get it, and some people don't care. And some of us, we have tattoos. We got hearts for the lovers, playing cards for the gamblers, black flag bars for the punks, sailing ships for the ramblers. We got skulls for the living, the pays our dues. And some of us, we have tattoos. 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 Thank you, everybody. Live like Jay, love like Mel.
Awesome. I hope that I don't chicken out on the 27th. Keep me on point, Matt. I'd like to share some thoughts now from Jay's dad, Jim, that he put together. Jay entered our lives as a 4-week-old, and he was a beautiful child. I think Jay would like me to put it differently, that we entered our adventure with him at that time. Of course, as many of you understand, maybe even better than me, it was an adventure from Jay's perspective, but frequently sheer panic or terror from Edie's and my perspective. Jay was a really beautiful child with long curly brown hair and big beautiful brown eyes. He had a lot of energy and was intensely curious. For example, Jay loved projects, and some of them were not so minor. We had a lot of fun building our own high-quality stereo subwoofer speakers. Jay built a working wind tunnel for testing his model cars as a science fair project, with a little assistance from me and a lot of assistance from Dr. Jewel Barlow, the director of the wind tunnel at the University of Maryland, just to mention a couple of examples. From very young, he was very interested in cars, as some of you here know, because you were an important part of a lot of those car-related experiences. How could someone get that interested in very high-quality paint jobs? Well, one of his friends, Brandon, turned it into a very successful business career. Jay loved to explore the large woods behind our house with a number of his friends, some of whom are here in this room. I don't want to know what they all did back there. I know he got in trouble with his granny, who he dearly loved, and who proceeded to explore the woods with her and leading her into a situation where she ended up crossing a small homemade bridge that Jay thought was perfectly secure, but which ended up collapsing and giving his 75-year-old grandmother a thorough dunking in the creek below. Of course, though old Granny was fine, but Jay was terribly embarrassed then, and even more so over the years as we teased him incessantly about it. I could go on and on with stories of Jay's mischief, but I can already feel him getting on my case for telling you about these experiences. Jay was always a people person from a small on, and not only with people of his own age. Being a professor at Maryland, we had a lot of faculty parties, and very often you could find Jay from a very young age on, not off in his room or elsewhere with friends, but right in the middle of the party conversing with the faculty just as comfortably as he was talking with his friends. He would later tell me that he thought this helped him later on academically because he was very comfortable with faculty. Jay described some of his thoughts about his youth in an autobiography that he wrote for one of his psych classes as an undergraduate, which also already indicated his interest in surfing. He wrote, "The only true great memory of my childhood was spending the summer of 1979 in Hawaii, where I was teaching for the summer and where Jay took his first surfing lessons at Waikiki Beach and fell in love with surfing." He also goes on to explain about his childhood. "Throughout my adolescence, I was always involved in athletics. I played football, lacrosse, snowboarded, etc. And as a result, I have broken almost every bone possible, including my neck in 1989. Then he goes on to describe his interest in art. "Aside from sports, I have always been interested in art as an observer and as a participant. My favorite artist is probably Salvador Dali because of his insight into the strange and macabre. I believe that he best described me when he said of himself, 'The only difference between me and a madman is that I am not mad.'" Jay also had an interesting view of himself, possibly influenced by his father's stories about family history and genealogy. He said after starting a rather long history of the Liesener family, "By being a descendant of Boguslav Liesener, I feel I have inherited the Liesener intellect, creativity, and artistic talent, straight from my Uncle Herbert. Hopefully this will lead me to the personal well-being shared by most of the Liesener family. Furthermore, even though I am adopted, I possess most of the Liesener's physical characteristics and do know that I am of strong, unknown German Lutheran heritage, like that of my present family." Jay confronted many hurdles in his educational career after his accident. In spite of these hurdles, Jay had incredible success at all levels, from high school through college and graduate school. He graduated with honors in his undergraduate degree, and he earned a master's degree and almost a PhD. Many people testify to his character in accomplishing this. The headmaster of his high school, Dr. James M. Caldwell, expressed his admiration for Jay in a letter to him when he graduated. He said, "I almost feel that this letter should begin, 'Dear Mr. Inspiration,' because you have been this to so many, including me. Your talent runs very deep, and your entry in the St. Andrews Arts Festival was immediately captivating and stirring. You are a fine and powerful artist. I hope you continue to strive for the same excellence in art in college next year." I could go on and on with more examples here of incredible achievements like this, including the Leadership and Academic Excellence Award in 1996 at the University of Maryland by the President's Commission on Women's Issues. As some of you may know, that Jay did have a short academic career. He was employed as an assistant professor at Norfolk State University in Virginia for 3 years and loved it, and the students loved him. And as is expected of college professors, Jay published 2 articles in reference and significant journals, and also published a chapter in a book on counseling with diverse populations. But his body would not cooperate, and he had to stop doing this occupation which he loved. Most people who were touched by Jay mentioned something about the kind of person that he was. The quality of Jay's heart was probably best revealed in a letter he wrote to his beloved granny for his beloved granny's funeral, which he could not attend because he was laid up again and couldn't travel to Iowa for the funeral. It is a little long, but reflects so well by Jay's deep feelings and values. He wrote, "When we look back over one's life, there are many ways to ascertain the value of one's existence. It is tempting to look at one's wealth or toward concrete contributions which one has left behind, but this is short-sighted. The true value of life lies in the many ways in which one's life has touched others. According to Ralph Waldo Emerson, to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. As I have reminisced over my wonderful memories of Granny this past week, something I do often, I realize just how successful her life has been. Whenever I think of Granny, it brings a smile to my face and a warmth to my heart. I know that Granny always knew that I loved her, and I hope that she knew how special she was to me and how much I learned from her about how to be a good person. In my life, Granny has always had an almost magical ability to accept and prize others. She seemed to always find the good in people, and being with her brought that out of them. When I got injured, Granny was one of the few people who never made me feel different about myself. When she looked at me, I never felt any lesser of myself. Maybe she was older and could understand what it is like to have a failing body. Maybe because she had experienced so much that she could see through the physical loss and still find me whole and unscathed inside. Whatever it was a revelation for me to spend time with her. She always had a way of making me feel whole and valued. This was always special for me, and it pulled me through some dark times. I cherished every moment with her. I am very sad that these moments are gone, but I will always carry my memories of her with me to help me through the rough times and provide me with a model to aspire to. I feel blessed to have had her in my life, and I hope that I can make her proud. I know that I have breathed easier from having known her, and I know that many others have as well. I will miss her greatly, and I will love her always. Jay even got around to telling his dad what he thought of him. On Father's Day 2002, Jay wrote this note to his dad. Dear Dad, happy Father's Day. I've really come to enjoy and appreciate the friendship that we have developed as I have become an adult. As the years pass and I move forward in my life, I continually realize how much you have imparted on me as a person. During my adolescence, I had a hard time understanding your rules and was apt to challenge them. But now I keep discovering the positive values that have arisen from the way you and Mom raised me. I know that this is a difficult time for you, and as I prepare to enter the next phase of my life and will be moving farther from home. I will miss our frequent talks over lunch and shopping excursions. I guess we'll just have to get webcams and have virtual lunches as our monitors. I'm sure that we'll find some way to keep the ritual going. Anyway, I just wish you a happy Father's Day, and thank you for guiding me to become the person that I am. With love from your son and friend. As you can imagine, that beautiful expression of love is engraved on his father's heart. The last few weeks have been surreal watching our son fade away, but in the midst of an incredible outpouring of love. Edie and I and Jenny are so happy that we have gotten to experience that and have gotten to know some of the members of Team Surf Camp. We now have a little better understanding of the joy and the fun that Jay was having with such an incredible group of wonderful people. We love Jay with every fiber of our being. As most of you know, Jay was apt to lead you into quite different directions than you intended. Well, that he impacted is just incredible. And we are seeing that here today. We so appreciate meeting many of those people and seeing many of them here today. I just want to end this commentary by saying goodbye to our son, telling him what he already knows, that we dearly love him, and he will be in our hearts forever. The Liesener family. I'd like to ask at this time if there's anybody that wasn't on my agenda that has something to say. Now's the time to come up. Ronnie, I know you had asked me earlier if you want to come up now. And if he's Pops, then that makes me Pop because I'm older than him. I don't think so. Are you older than me?
I'm really not sure how I got to be Pops, Brad. I mean, we got Nick, right? My good buddy Nick. Nick, I'm not sure if Nick can hear me right now, but that's a joke going back to our hotel room in California. But I've been going back and forth for the last couple of weeks about whether I was going to say something or not. It's been a tough year for all of us. And even though I speak for a living, I got to tell you, I've never gotten up and spoke without a plan. So bear with me. I'll keep it brief because, we've been here a while. But we all know how special Jay was. And I just got to start by saying, I love him. When Jay talked with me back this spring about what was going on, we met at our favorite, my favorite, Mexican restaurant at El Dorado, and he told me what was going on this spring, that this was going to be his last summer surfing. And we got into a little bit more about it, and he sort of told me what he thought his prognosis was. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't believe him. And I've talked with some of the others of you, and I just didn't see how it could be so. And, so we went on, and I made some of the surf trips early on, and then unfortunately we made the trip to North Carolina, and I got a bump on my leg and ended up getting an infection that turned out to be a little bit more than I anticipated. So if any of you ever get an infection in the ocean, go to the doctor right away because it can be a bad deal. And I ended up missing a couple of months, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make the surf trip to California or not because the doctor had cautioned me to stay out. And it really sucked not being able to go and be a part of it. And I talked to Jay and I told him that I can't go out there and watch. And so, it's not that I'm not trying to be around, and we would text every now and again, and I'd see him, but I said, man, I can't go and watch other people surf. And the doctor had already said, don't do this because, you could lose your leg. So I listened to the doctor, and I didn't go surfing, but it really sucked. But, so I got a chance to look at the pictures. I'd always wait for Mel to post them so I could see the pictures, and I'd pick the ones I like, and I'd pick the best ones, and I'd go in and I'd like it. But it stunk. But then we made the, I was able to make the surf trip to California. Doctor, now my wife and daughter in the back, so it's past now, so I can tell the truth. He told me not to go. And so I told the doctor, I said, well, that's not really an option. Tell me how I'm going to get there. And what do I have to do? And so we went through that, and he still recommended that I don't go. And I said, well, I'm going to need another doctor then. He was my neighbor, so he understood. We figured out how I could go. But when we were out there in California, it really started to get real, and I had some conversations with Jay. And the things that were so special, and Brad touched on this a lot, there's two things that were really great about Jay and that really put him into the stratosphere as far as people that we'll ever get to know. He gathered people together, I mean, look at this. I mean, this is fucking awesome. You know, this is pretty outstanding. Who else but Jay could do this? I mean, y'all aren't coming to my celebration like this, I doubt. But you know, but this is really cool. You know, and he would gather people, and I noticed, you know, the different groups that he would put together, and I thought it was unique. And I don't know who planned this. I don't know if it was Mel or Jay, as far as who was going to spend the night together in California and all that kind of stuff. But we're traveling in my pickup truck over to California, and it's early in the morning. We meet at John Dorfler's house, and it's me, John Dorfler, Ed O'Connor, and Nick. Now, those of you that know us, and if you don't know us, come ask, I'll explain it. Who would have put these four people together? Because this was a match. This was not a match that anybody could see as working out, but it worked out. Well, I did put in a request not to ride with Brad, and I also put in a request not to ride with Ed Martin, and I still got stuck with Ed Martin and realized why I didn't want to ride with Ed Martin anymore, because the dude is nuts. We made it, but Melissa and I were in the back seat holding hands as Ed was driving. But yeah, I'll tell you a story afterwards. But for me personally, the thing that now I'm talking about Ed, that Jay was able to do is Jay was able to allow me to be myself. Doing what I do for a living, you know, I tend to find myself being responsible for taking care of other people's problems, and even my friendships tend to delve into that. But Jay was always able to make me feel like I was just one of the guys. Something that in my life, unfortunately, I'm just sort of my lot in life, I haven't been able to do. But he made me feel that I was just one of the guys, and he was just to sit around and just talk about surfing. They weren't asking me to solve somebody's problem, and I'm not unique that way. Jay made everybody feel like they were his best friend, and he would take the time to talk with you, just like he talked with the kids. He talked to everybody. Everybody felt that they had a connection with Jay, and they did. And that was special to me, you know, just because, you know, I'm 50 years old almost, and, you know, sitting there trying to, you know, just trying to be one of the guys can be tough. And, you know, he just made me feel, for the first time in a really long time, that I could just enjoy being around these guys. And he brought everybody. You know, it doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what, you know, what you were in life. When you got together with Jay, you were just one of the guys. And all the guys that are sitting around here, you can attest, you know, that being one of the guys is one of the most special and important things you can do in life, man. Just being one of the guys, and Jay found a way to allow us to do that. So I just want to thank him, and I'm not going to get into all the other stuff, man, but, you know, I love that man. I love all of you guys. The people I don't know, look, I love you too. I'll get to know you later, but, you know, so just if you got a drink in your hand, just take a drink to Jay. Man, I love you. Take care, brother. Aloha.
Thanks, Ronnie. Just a few more things before we have a little grub. I'd like to bring up John Gaz and his daughter Bodie to share a song with us.
Okay. My name's John. This is my daughter Bodie. I was lucky enough to surf just the past couple summers with Jay, and I never could figure out the Facebook thing the whole time. So I'd often go to the wrong beach. Mel would like text me, "Look south, we're 100 yards down." But on the day that Jay died, he had a Facebook post on the Surf Camp page, and it had a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon and a song. And when I heard the song, I almost feel like I have to apologize for how happy it made me. Just like any time I think about Jay and Surf Camp, like I don't deserve to feel this crazy, weird inside joy that I certainly don't deserve. So anyway, that song I thought was so cool, I wanted to learn it, so I learned it. And this is the song. 2, 3, 4. Well, I woke up this morning, rainbow filled the sky. Yeah, I woke up this morning, rainbow filled the sky. That was God telling me everything's gonna be alright. Well, so long, old friends. When will we meet again? I said, so long, old friends. When will we meet again? Well, I don't know, but I guess I'ma see you then. I'll see you, man. Pack this old guitar, move on down the road. Yeah, I'll pack this old guitar, move on down the road. Where I go, I don't know, but I guess I've got to go. Well, I woke up this morning, a rainbow filled the sky. Yeah, I woke up this morning, a rainbow filled the sky. That was God telling me everything gonna be all right.
That was awesome. I'm going to ask Meredith Smith to come up, who is going to lead us in a poem and a toast to take us in towards the dinner hour as they're working their way up here. Let me share just a couple personal things. Couldn't do this earlier because then I would have melted into a puddle and there'd have been nobody to do this up here. But I'm forever grateful to Jay for the bond that he... that he cemented between my son and I. You can read about it on Facebook. The other thing I want to say that's cool is the joy that Jay brought all of us in here that are a part of the team and were in the water with him and on the beach. If you really want to see that, look again at the pictures of California. Every time Jay caught a wave, pushed into a wave, wiped out, you picked him up, bobbing face down in the water, the first thing you saw was that big old teeth grin. Look carefully at the pictures in California, though. The conditions were to the point where like everybody could be in the water helping. And look at the smiles and the grins on each one of the team's face as they're pushing him, catching him, or whatever. That was the joy that Jay brought us. And then one other small piece I want to share before we conclude is that just recently, my son moved into his first home with his girlfriend. Cool. And I said, text me some pictures, Matt. So I said, all right. He says, I'll text you some. So he texted me a picture of his little office man cave. And on the wall, not a picture of me or anything, but 3 gorgeous 8x10 pictures of Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and California of the Surf Gib team. Awesome.
Before Meredith reads her poem, I didn't prepare to say anything because I knew that I can't put my loss into words, and I can't put my appreciation for you all into words, but I can tell you just one little snippet into how Jay felt about you all. In the not so distant past, I asked him hypothetically if he had the chance to go back in time and not make that rotation and break his neck and not have the pain and suffering and the challenges and struggles that he had as a result. Would he do that? And he said immediately no. He would not. He wouldn't even entertain the idea, and it confused me because I figured that, that's what he would want most, would be to be pain-free and walk around and do whatever he wanted and not have me have to put his jeans on every day and brush his hair. But he said no because he wouldn't have met the people he did in his life because he knows his path would have been different. It would have been very different. And we all meant more to him than easing his pain and suffering. And I think that's pretty telling to the types of relationships we all had with him. And I didn't doubt that that was the truth. And I haven't shared in mass with public, but luckily Jay died pain-free and very happy. He said he had no regrets and that he loved us all. And he said he was going to the ocean, and the smile on his face looked exactly like that photo in front of you of what he looked like when he came out of the water in Hawaii, when he felt like his heart was at home. And that was the happiest I've ever seen him in that picture. And he looked like that in our bedroom, looking out towards whatever he saw, he said was the ocean, even though it was just Ralph's house. But before he fell asleep for the last time, he was very happy. And I appreciate every little piece that you all had in playing the part that led to that kind of peace and that kind of no regret that he had in those final days. So thank you.
I wrote this poem for Jay before he passed, and it was really sharing not just my words, but our team's words, our promise to Jay. Because Jay taught us how to live, and, you know, we had the privilege of learning how to die in a way that was life-altering, and he's not gone, so this is the promise. I will always see you in the rainbow, a prism refracting and reflecting, masterfully, beautifully dominating the fleeting storm. What is real? The promise that you will live on. You will remain alive until each grain of stolen sand is gone, traveling to and from long, salty, satisfying days. As sure as a single grain remains, you will be here. First rides and 500th rides, swells and peaks and lulls, infused always with your spirit. Each ride a nod to your courage to thrive. And in the golden hour, I will find you in that mysterious filter, light like magic, softening the close of another day. Maybe we will be too content to leave, exchanging boards for headlamps and hoodies and buckets of crabs, kindling and then embers, you and moonlight as our guide. As sure as the horizon spreads high and sinks low, no distinction of sky and sea, just as tides rise and they fall, each ebb and flow, we will humbly and gratefully take you with us.